Hi, I'm Vinny Furtado. I'm the Public Works Superintendent in town. I've put together a presentation for town meeting's consideration for their approval of a bylaw called the Flow Neutral Bylaw, which I will explain in a handful of slides moving forward. After the two prior approved town meeting votes, the town borrowed a cumulative total of $70 million. The borrowing source was the state, specifically the State Revolving Fund, which is a loan program that offers affordable financing options to cities and towns to help them with federal and state water quality requirements of either wastewater plants, collection systems, or water treatment. As this is a borrowing, there are three potential interest rates that we can get, we the town. 2% if we embark on a 20-year note, 2.4% if we embark on a 30-year note, and we have the option for 0%, which is what we're looking to do by having this bylaw in place. And it can be for either the above amortization schedules, either 20 or 30 years, as long as certain criteria are met. Of note, anything greater than 0%, regardless of the amount of years, is going to net a 30 to 40% additional sewer rate increase. So with the amount of money that we borrowed so far, anything more than 0% is going to net an additional $20 million of interest payback that we're going to have to do. In order to obtain 0%, there are some document submittals that the state requires. One of these such submittals is the Flow Neutral Bylaw, which is what this presentation is all about. The next couple of slides, I have the regulation/policy from the state. So as you can see here, it says a local government unit, meaning us, can apply for financial assistance for a nutrient removal project, which we're doing, and the amount of money that we get via loans can be made at 0% interest as long as some criteria is met. Criteria A is that the local governmental unit, or us, cannot be currently in violation of some kind of discharge standard, which we are not. Criteria number 2 is that we need to have submitted a comprehensive wastewater management plan, which we did. It needs a little updating, and I'm going to mention that in some subsequent slides, but for all intents and purposes, that is 3/4 of a check, if you will. Criteria C, or number 3, the project is consistent with Regional Water Resource Management Plan. We are. And criteria D is that the local government unit has to be in compliance with the applicable statutes that the state requires, and there has to be this land use control document, which is what this bylaw is all about. In brief, the amount of money that the state is allowing us to borrow, we have to ensure by a bylaw that the capacity of the wastewater plant will not be exceeded via flow. Following suit, this slide here mentions the same thing, and I put in red, such land use controls must be in effect prior to closing to receive 0 rate of interest loans. So even though I assume that this bylaw, which is in the current form it's in, will be tweaked as time goes along, I am not certain if we're going to have a fall town meeting, and I wanted to get this approved because the state is scheduled to set this rate, roughly speaking, at 50% of the borrowing, which means that we borrowed $70 million at the $35 million mark, which by schedule review looks like it's going to be June of 25. I want to have the document in place, the document being the flow neutral bylaw, because I would assume that the state is going to ask for the applicable documents, say by the end of this year, the beginning early of next year, and I don't want to wait to have something in place, again, because we're looking at $20 million plus. The CWMP, or the Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan, is one of the 4 criteria, A, B, C, D, that I mentioned before. And basically it's a document, it's a guide, if you will, that outlines the local planning process for maintaining and updating the treatment plants and collection system. We have followed this for the last 10 years when we submitted it. All we have to do here is update it, and that should be a check mark for us. Some of the things that we've done, I put all different projects in relatively recent time, or at least in the last 10 years, that most that town meeting has approved. For example, here, pilot study, $50,000. Abbey, Manhattan, Marguerite, Pilgrim, Railroad Ave, these are all pump stations that had their equipment evaluated. A lot of the equipment they don't make anymore, $140,000. And again, these are things that we've done. So we've followed the Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan pretty closely. Really, the crux of the biscuit is to get this bylaw approved. So a quick recap. The bylaw is one of the locked-in requirements in order for us to get a 0% loan from the state, specifically the state revolving fund. In our case, minimally, it's $20 million potential savings. So the bylaw that we have, I'm just going to go over the sections. So section 1 is the purpose of this bylaw, and the purpose is to regulate the connection to an extension of the town's sewage system in order to preserve and manage the limited treatment capacity available for the town. We have a 5 million gallon per day plant. We're fortunate enough that on a beautiful day, we only see about 3 million gallons per day, so we have plenty of water to allocate, but nonetheless, we still have to have this bylaw in place, or else we will not be able to get 0%. Section 2, identification of lots to be served. Very simply, those lots existing as of record and recorded in the Bristol County Registry of Deeds are the registered land section of the Registry of Deeds, basically in the town of Fairhaven. Sewer extensions to new streets, subdivisions, or lots created and recorded in the Bristol County Registry of Deeds. After the bylaw is accepted by town meeting, we'll need approval with our local boards, planning, zoning, and Board of Public Works. Section 4 is we're reserving some additional capacity with the amount of water that we have left, the 2 million gallons, in case there is upgrades of schools, upgrades of that public safety complex that's in the works somewhere. We're saving some spot for them. Section 5, the allocation of reserve capacity for failed septic systems. What this section is for the number of folks, and again, I put 1,000 just for a number. We actually have a few less than that, but let's say that there are 1,000 residents in our town that are tied into septic versus the sewer. If their septic system failed, we're going to reserve capacity at the sewer plant so they're not shut out. Again, we're very, very fortunate that we have 2 million gallons to play with. Let's say that we were a community that didn't have this much. We would still have to have this flow neutral bylaw, and any subsequent allocation would be very tight, whereas we don't have that such thing here. And just for real quick numbers so people can kind of understand, if we did have 1,000 septic systems in town, and the rough guesstimate of folks is 64 gallons per person per day, and we assumed that there were 4 persons in every home, which again is very conservative, that's still only a 256,000 gallon allotment, and we have 2 million gallons to play with. Allocation, Section 6, reserve capacity if a facility changed. So for example, if a business decided to convert, somebody bought an abandoned business and they converted from an old storefront to a restaurant, obviously the flow is going to be increased because there's much more water used in a restaurant than there is, assumingly, just for bathrooms in a storefront. So we're going to reserve capacity for those folks too. Section 7, cost reimbursement for reserve capacity. This would be, for example, the town of Mattapoisett owns a portion of our wastewater plant. They own 550,000 gallons per day. And if they wanted to up that allocation, they would have to pay a cost for that reservation. Section 8, there is a required formula that has to be used to calculate the amount of water allocation, and this is referenced in this particular section. So a final recap, we borrowed $70 million via the 2 town meetings. Currently, thankfully, we have $11,600,000 in loan forgiveness. Roughly speaking, $12 million is owed to us from the town of Mattapoisett as they own a share of the wastewater plant. We were fortunate enough to receive $1 million in ARPA money, and we've netted more than $2 million in our capital account. This is the $25 fee that associated with every invoice for water and sewer that people get. So rough numbers, we have $43,400,000 that we have to pay back. We are seeking to pay this back at 0% to save ratepayers more than $20 million during the life of the loan. Again, 0% is going to be a savings of 30 to 40% in increase in sewer rates. And the reason why I want this on the docket now and to be approved is, again, it is estimated that next June, June of 25, is when the state is going to decide what our rate is going to be, not knowing if we're going to have a fall town meeting, and certainly don't want to wait till next May. That's why I want something on the books right now, so when I'm asked, we can give them a copy of that in pursuit of our 0%. And again, just talking about the flows, we receive 3 million gallons per day of wastewater on a beautiful day. If we allocate 256,000 gallons for failed septic systems, that's going to leave more than 1.7 million gallons left, or room to grow. So even with the different growth opportunities that are in front of us with the town, I mean, you're talking about we'd have to go from what we are currently, 15, 16, 17,000 people, to additional 27,000 people, or 40 some odd thousand. We're not going to grow that much, and it's very important that we have this bylaw passed. Again, the sole reason is not because of the flow allocation. The sole reason is so we can get 0%, because we're fortunate that we have 2 million gallons to play with. Thank you for your time.